relationship. So let me give us some kind of example. Let's say older grandfather for 70 years old, he all the life complete all documents in paper, but then he decided to move to digital. And after that, he heard that from some news that databases was leaked. What can be happen then? The man, the grandfather, can't be delete just app, right? So this is trust. He should trust to the government database, but the database is secured. And for this session, I would like to invite experts who will be answering for these questions that I answered before. It's Ms. Arpin Karikyan. Please. And I would like to invite David Vicente Andorra. He is director of Andorra Digital. Please welcome. And also I would like to invite the next speaker, Tarvi Martins. He's from Estonia. So let's start with fun, but let's start with Arpine, because the Tatari would be present just a little later, and he will show the foundation must rock solid. So now let's zoom out to the global landscape before we go deeply. We are joined Mr. Arpine from UN DESA. Arpine will share insight of digital ID and public sector service delivery based this UN government survey findings. Arpine, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Rustem. And thank you for your patience a little bit. We had a bit of a technical issue. That's why we made a little bit of rearrangement. And Tarvi has just joined us, as said. With the presentation, could you pull the presentation for, yeah. Pull up the presentation. Just while we're waiting, my name is Arpine Goregyan. If anyone is new to the room right now, I work for the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs as a Governance and Public Administration Officer. And it is my pleasure to be here today. And my presentation will discuss on the digital IDs as such, the importance of digital IDs and what data do we have in the UN through United Nations Division for Public Institutions and Digital Government. We're doing the UN government survey, and from that survey findings where we stand globally and at some regional level on the adoption of digital IDs. So with this, allow me to quickly proceed. So I hope this technology supports. So the next one. I would like to start, before going into the findings, I'd like to start with the first question. Why legal identity in general and digital right now, this matters? And the first thing is that if anyone is familiar with it, it's a universal human rights. The Article 6 suggests that everyone has the right to be recognized as a person before the law, and legal identity is one way of doing so. The Convention on Human Rights of a Child also said that it should be registered immediately, the child after birth, and shall have the right from the birth to a name, the right to acquire nationality, and so forth. This is also a human children's right. And then International Convention on Civil and Political Rights also suggests that every citizen shall be able to have the right and opportunity to vote and to be elected as a genuine person in the elections. And for that, you also need an identity. First, legal identity, and nowadays also importantly, and we'll talk about it. So with that, this 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which all member states of the UN has adopted, the Goal 16 suggests that the legal identity is acknowledged to be the catalyst for achieving at least 10 sustainable development goals. And it does provide a specific target asking that everyone at birth should have a possibility for free registrations as well. So there are a number of international documents that mandate it or encourage it, legal identity, and nowadays digital identity, and it's mostly done also from a perspective of leaving no one behind. At the central level as a promise of the Sustainable Development Goals achievement, and it represents an unequivocal commitment of the UN to eradicate the poverty, discrimination and exclusion, and reduce inequalities among the vulnerable population groups. And I'm going to tell in the next slide of why the lack of digital identities is a hindrance or an obstacle to that. Without one, people won't have an ability to enter legal transactions with the public authorities, for example, including the most common services that we have in the public sector and the commercial ones, or they will not be able to enter contractual agreements. Legal identity is the base for that. Lack of protection is also follows with not having a legal identity. People won't have a ability to buy, sell their property or register their inheritance. A number of issues related to law. Without legal identity, it's very difficult to assert your right or get into it. Inability to travel, inability to vote or open a bank account or get cash transferred, enroll as a taxpayer in the system if they are in the rightful and workforce. And then people without identity have also an obstacles in purchasing or registering the mobile phone or SIMs these days. I'm sure many of you try to get a local SIM card, and then the first thing that they ask is an identity. And as well as the lack of identity gives obstacles to access public services, which is what we are concerned about today. So why the legal identity matters, right? On the surface, there are about 8.2 billion people on Earth as of 2026, according to the estimates. And there are still slightly less than 1 billion people, 850 million people, who don't have any legal ID, and far less digital ID. So there's a requirement to have an ID and then digitalize it. About 6 billion of those people use internet, but there are another 2.2 billion that still remain offline. So that's another challenge of it. And of those people who are online, 94% are coming from high-income countries. Only 22% of the people in the low-income countries are connected and have ways of using public services because they are connected there as well. There's also a gender gap in the online presence, not too high, but still 77% of men versus 71% of women use internet regularly. And 1.3 billion adults remain unbanked, despite 68% of the mobile phone ownership. So most likely, one of the reasons is that the legal identities are problematic, or in general, identifying and getting digital IDs might be problematic. And 75% of women in many countries are getting government to public sector services, but they are not being paid enough. So all these things create obstacles, and digital ID, together with legal identity, matters in getting the access and getting, to vulnerable population and unlocking the potential there. Why is it hard to get legal and as well as digital identity? Partially because the legal identity is has a very well agreed common definition. Everyone understands that its basic characteristics of an individual has to be there. Mostly that's name, sex, place of birth, and date of birth of the person. And this is usually offered through the state registry systems. These are linked to the civil registration systems, and legal ID is restricted by the issuance of the death certificate. It's retired. So the legal ID is relatively straightforward process. When it comes to digital ID, there's no universal definition of what that is. There are different practices of asserting it. It understood to be a unique and consistent identity, a virtual identification card usually of a person, and assigned to an individual's date authenticate themselves to the users of the portable digital devices most of the time. And the definitions are getting better, and there are a growing pattern of understanding the same thing under what digital ID is, but it's still, there's no common definition that is agreed by all states or everyone. And this involves biometrics, for example, fingerprints or iris scan of the eyes, which makes it a little bit more vulnerable for protection too. So another challenge that comes with digital versus legal identity. Legal identity systems are issued on the host of different administrative processes and then civil registration processes, etc. So some comes from the live birth registration, death registration, or any accidents that are recorded by, for example, health institutions and so forth. Other information comes from the divorces and marriage annulments from the courts. There's also different processes for the jurisdictional separation, for adoption of children, recognition of children who are, being adopted, etc. All those things are administrative different processes, so it's not one. So moving to digital stage of those processes requires streamlining of all these processes, or at least making those responsibilities clear in front of the public institution as well as in the processes. Digital IDs so far, by many apps that we use or services that we use online require as a maybe fingerprint, iris, and face recognition. Nowadays also voice recognition, but it could be also just a PIN, in a combination of a PIN and a password, combination of tokens that we use for getting in. So none of those things require an elaborate process of going through different registry systems to be verified or identified, etc. So digital IDs are easier to do. Some of them are still very much in use, even though the governments are encouraging people to get their digital IDs. With that, there is also challenges of scaling and the coverage of those, digital ways of verifying people. Or this, means, for example, fingerprints or irises are not necessarily coinciding with your biometric data. I, for one, have a lot of, accounts and, in the apps, etc., where I don't use my legal name. It's a combination of my alias with a, password, but the legal identity is bound to use your biometrics or your legal identifications and such. So a trusted ID document is needed for the digital as well to move into using one digital identity. There's also a risk of misuse and breach of incidents that have greater impact because the data is not replaceable. And some of us has already highlighted that part, that, for example, the password you can change. You can change even your passport if need be, if it's the hard copy of it. But your biological data, fingerprint or your iris, once it's lost or stolen, there is a breach of that, for example, it's very difficult to replace. It's not possible. So identity theft or problems related to identity becomes more challenging. Hence, protection is required a lot stronger than just things. And there's also a risk of physical verification being compromised. Professor Zheng, during last session, has mentioned a lot of time when you go to the state, basically through mobile app to identify your ID, and then you can show it in different service protections, right? But then physical verification, for example, what happens if you lose your mobile phone and you don't have anything there? So if you're completely relying only on digital, that might be another weak link for the states, and they need to have a backup options as well. And then also very often third-party suspensions may be required, supervision may be required for the use of the digital ID and so forth. So these are all challenges that prevent from wider adoption of digital IDs, but not small ones. These issues need to be considered. And as a key takeaway, digital identities can unlock greater opportunities, and we need to be able to rely on robust legal identity systems to advance also the digital ID. There are also a lot of technologies, emerging ones, that help with that. For example, blockchain AI becomes a new form of gathering a lot of authentication information there. And also the use of biometric data is increasingly becoming a way to verify people. Data and privacy protection becomes a priority with that, as well as the partnerships between public and private, say, the banks or different service providers in the digital field need to agree with that. So with that, having said that, let's quickly see, with this background, how many countries have adopted already. We have an increasing adoption since 2022. So about 64% of the countries required some form of digital ID to access public services, according to our survey data. In 2024, it reached 78% about it, and it's still plateaued. Even now, in 2026, it's on the plateau level. So basically, the countries, there are about 42 countries that don't require digital ID to enter public services, and they are still the same since 2024 up until nowadays. 78% of the coverage in 24, the same here. So there are numbers which are encouraging. So that means 78% of countries already have some legal digital identification procedures in place for accessing the services, but it's not universal. European countries are leading, and Europe is basically almost universally covered with digital ID. In the Americas and Asia, they are slightly lower, like in the 80 and 90% of the coverage. Oceania, countries in Oceania, there are 14 countries in Oceania, has done the most significant expansion of offering, providing for digital ID since 2024 to this year. And for a strange reason, Africa recorded a slight decline. We need to investigate further to understand what happened, but there's about 5-6% of drop in the number of member states that reported having digital ID as a means of verifying online access to online services. And my last slide in that sense is that we have added in the United Nations Government Survey this year also a number of other questions which sort of relate to similar issues, like issuance of the cross-agency IDs, which becomes more and more prevalent, the applying for the social security number or applying for ID online. And as we can see, there is the dark green is when you can do it everything online and complete the transaction. Lighter green is when you can start the process, get information, maybe get a form, but you still need to physically go somewhere else to complete the transaction. And then the reddish-orange one is where the service is not provided at all. As you can see, there's a growing number of at least partially digitalizing those services. But it's not universal, and many of the countries in special situation, which UN calls countries in least developed countries, countries in landlocked developing states, as well as small island developing states, their coverage percentages are far lower than the global averages are. So with that, I'm just trying to, this I think I've already covered, and I will stop my presentation here, and hopefully this will start a discussion also with the next panels on how to improve the digital ID creation process. If there will be questions, I will be happy to address those as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arpine. Thank you for a global perspective. And just I would like to add some not global but local link, and I would ask my friends to follow the QR link for small survey that we would like to do to the workshop. Yeah, is this another one? Okay.
There will be a different QR code.
But that one, it's really important too.
Thank you.
That's yours. Well, this is, yeah, the kind of, that is much better. Yeah, please, my friends, follow and complete this small survey. Before we go forward, I think we have to start with a fundamental architecture. In Estonia has long been a global benchmark in digital identity, so and the e-governments. It makes pleasure to invite Mr. Tarvi Martins, and please, the floor is yours. And he will show us the own presentations.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I will tell a bit about Estonian EID history, which started exactly 30 years ago. I was myself starting the ID card project. We promised to deliver first ID card in 14 months, including tenders and pilots and everything. Well, it took 5 years, like usual. Well, there was some lawmaking to do and all of that, so no wonder. Anyways, today we are enjoying all the wonders of EID, whatever it provides. I will go through those briefly. What is important here to see that 4 years after the launch of ID card, we discovered that, okay, pretty much everyone has physically electronic ID card with all its certificates enabled and everything ready for use, but only 30,000 people out of 1 million card owners have actually used it. So we did something. We did something great with the private sector, banks, government, everything joined together, and we tenfolded the number of users in 3 years, actually 3.5 years. I'll just look at the numbers. Here in Georgia, the card was released 2011. In 2015, 4 years after, there were 254 users out of 4 million cards. You see. So it's a problem. It's a problem. How do you encourage people to use the card? It's about services. How to enable ID card in services. And how do you teach people, really? Okay. Moving ahead, that was the original ID card. Today, the chip is the other side, but it's essentially the same. It has two properties that is like salt and pepper for EID. It's authentication and digital signing. The else you can combine. I mean, every e-service can use those two services, two functions, and build their service on top of that. Even internet banking, or payments, which is not separate. It's just another e-service, right? If you have those cornerstones there, then you can legally do things. We had to come up with alternative, because if you lose ID card and you are very dependent in your services on EID, then you need alternative if you lose your ID card, for example. So we came up with the mobile ID, which is pretty much the same functionality in your SIM card. It's not about a smartphone, it's not about internet connection, it's SMS connection and pure stupid phone you can use. And we legalized it. So it was pretty much the first occasion I know that the mobile ID was like governmentally issued by the law, electronic identity. Now the third generation, so to say, which everyone is using that now, requires internet, requires smartphone, and it's called Smart ID. It was bank-driven largely because they wanted to get rid of password-based systems, rotating passwords, all of that, low security stuff, because it was like European bank requirements that above 30 euros transaction, you should use something stronger. So they had to come up with something instead, and now it's everywhere, not just in Baltics, but also, say, in Iceland and other places. Whoa. No. Oh. Back and forth.
Reverse.
High-tech solutions.
No. I am in control or someone else is. No?
You have to believe you're under control.
Yeah, but I'm pushing button, nothing changes. Which button? That one. Up, back. How? Up, back. This is back. Oh, good. So much better technology, you know. So there is no single serious e-service that doesn't support mobile ID or smart ID or ID card. There is no password-based system, so, but I can see. What I'm especially proud of, at the beginning, there was part of my doings that we designed comprehensive kind of blocks of software to enable digital signing. Portals, libraries, desktop clients, things like that, sharing the same common format. So basically, if you got this file, you immediately recognize that, okay, this is digitally signed file. This is legal. Has good thing to go to court and everything. It holds. And this society has been there. So basically, I cannot see any paper signatures, only in foreign correspondence, perhaps. But inside Estonia, you don't sign manually anything. Even bank transactions, every transaction you make in internet banking is signed digitally. So, yeah, 2005 introduced internet voting. It's there. We started slow, but now more than half of people are voting over internet in past 5 elections, I would say. So, in all, there were some calculations made, and we saved some sort of 2% of GDP because of existence of this system. The cost and transportation of paper and all of that, it was all calculated. So it's yeah. At that time, we had like requirement in NATO to be paid 2% to be member of NATO. All right. So I could say that our doings got the free access to NATO. Okay. Anyways, few things to take from there. It's about creating infrastructure, really. It's like with the roads, cars, and driving schools, all right? So you just don't go and sell certificates. So you don't sell 100 meters of road without people knowing what is car or how to drive. So it's not that. You create the infrastructure, which in these terms means that is delivering EIDs to people. Now, EU standards are prevailing in here. You have to teach really people. There were massive campaigns of giving away the smart card readers and free lessons by banks and by government as well. It shall be some government issued EID. It was mentioned there that the management, identity management shall be common, the same with the paper carriers. Again, the PPP here is essential because you want to be the whole thing. It's also for private sector, for banks in the first place, to be the token you create that is usable everywhere. And it takes time. I mean, it's a learning curve, and you cannot, it's behavioral change in society. That always takes some time. It didn't, wow, something missing here. Anyway, it was meant to show there are 2 models. Oh, come on. So all right. Yeah, but I'm just saying, in Europe, it's hugely popular to talk about digital wallet nowadays. And everyone is excited and all of that. What is digital wallet? It's actually a copy of what we're doing today. It's getting some papers from some governmental agencies and presenting to other ones, right? This is stupid, really. It's old-time thing. What is essential is that you present your EID and to the relying party, and this relying party collects all necessary attributes from the other institutions, fresh ones, legally. For example, in Estonia, you don't carry any driving documents with you. You present your ID and police would know whether you have driver's license, whether you have insurance, health insurance, all of that. So it's essential that if you create a data exchange platform that is legalized, that allows for the oversight, allows your control over data, then it's essential that you do that. So in case of Estonia, the digital wallet doesn't provide us anything really. Maybe for international relations. And with that, I shall.
Thank you. Thank you, Tarvi, for your showing that this foundation must be rock solid. So the next, we move to turn to the country. Digital transformation requires both agile and strict secure. I'd like to welcome to David Vicente, Director of Andorra Digital, and we look forward to hearing about the Andorra's approach. Please, the floor is yours.
Hello.
Use this one. Yeah, right, good.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, thank you for having me here. And thank you especially to the government of Estonia. I'm sorry, of Georgia. I'm sorry. I was thinking about you. I'm sorry. For having me and give me the opportunity just to be showing this presentation. First of all, I would like you to know, if everybody more or less know, where Andorra is. Andorra is a microstate in the middle of Pyrenees between France and Spain, and we are really small. Okay, we are only 90,000 people. But we receive 10 million people a year of tourists, okay? So as you can imagine, for us, it's key, absolutely key, just to embrace digitalization and have all the digital services that allow us to provide the best experience, not only to our citizens, but also to the tourists that are coming to the country. In that sense, probably you have to. Okay, thank you. So before talking or while talking on digitalization of the country, we do think that it's important to understand that we start a digital transformation program in 2020, and according to the European objectives and strategic lines 2030. And for us was key just to understand which was the initial status of the project and where we want to be in a few years, okay? So to that end, we define this framework of development. As you can see, there is something that is key, digital identity. But digital identity could not be deployed alone without taking into consideration the rest of the framework. So at that time, we didn't have an cybersecurity agency, for example. We didn't have a regulation about cybersecurity. We didn't have a regulation about interoperability. We didn't have a regulation or particular infrastructure regarding data management, okay? So it was key in order to provide this experience, not only, again, for the citizen, but also for the tourists, to define these main pillars of development. So once you have that main pillars built, you can show to the rest of the different verticals that require that infrastructure, that pillars, and be able to provide a wide catalog of digital services. And among all that, the key point, okay, the keystone is the digital identity, okay? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Now, yes. Okay, as you can see in this slide, we have built two main and strong digital ID, okay, in order to guarantee that not only citizens, but also enterprises, businesses, have a full identification, and we have the 360 degrees of all the information that we require from a citizen or from an enterprise in order to that, with that identity, you can manage so many things, okay? So just to provide you an idea, with this digital identification, of course, we have access to the public service catalog, okay, to the electronic administration, to social, to health services, and all the different verticals that you have seen before, okay? So this digital ID that now it's based in a wallet, in a digital wallet, okay, can ensure that your credentials could be verified and provide you access to all the services that we are showing and offering to citizens and to enterprises. Of course, you can sign electronic documents. You have this access to a full range of interoperability system services that we have also deployed in the country. And again, thank you to this, thanks to this digital wallet, it's the experience from the citizen, it's quite nice, we do think, because at the end of the day, they are just verifying with your cell phone that you are saying who you are saying, okay? So that's quite smooth. And well, at the end, of course, in any interaction that you may have with administration or with health services or whatever, you need to do sometimes payments, okay? So everything is wrapped up, okay? On top of that, we also are, and thanks to some agreements with Apple and Google, we are also managing payments with that company's wallet, okay? So we are just tying everything and just, at the end of the day, putting the citizen in the center or enterprise in the center and provide the best experience. That, I think, in my opinion, is the most important thing. The citizen experience and the way he or she is acting with the administration. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, and here are some figures just to give you an idea. Again, we are a country in a digital transformation. We are not full digital, okay? That would be our desire, but we are on our way to achieve that, okay? So nowadays the 67% of population already holds a certificate. That's pretty much considering that we are only talking about few years since these services are available, right? In terms of companies, most important thing in digital transformation is change management. So we are helping companies and enterprise to get involved in the digital world. We are changing every electronic interaction with the administration and again, make the experience better. And well, as I mentioned before, we have now more or less one of 4 citizens that already holds that wallet. That wallet was started to be deployed just a couple of years ago. So that means that the level of capillarity that we are right now, it's quite good in our opinion, okay? And well, that's pretty much all. So a country in a digital, fully involved in a digital transformation process where we strong believe is that the digital ID, it's the keystone in order to do absolutely everything. But of course, but in a secure manner, okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. So we now move to the second part of our sessions, the country cases. So we look at how the framework can apply it in the different regions, ensure accountability and inclusions. The first, we travel to Asia. So I'm pleased to invite Mr. Chia Siriva, so Secretary General of the Digital Government Committee of Cambodia, who will be share the experience of documental verifications. And I would like to invite also Mr. From Latin America, Alejandro, who was representing Uruguay's experience. Yes, the floor is to you. Let me ask you to start first with the Asia. Please, the floor is yours, Mr. Chair.
So I stay here. So good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Srivat. I am ex-Microsoft. I joined the government 3 years ago after spending 20 years experience working for the private sector. Today, I'm going to present a solution called Verify, which can, I use one slogan here, anywhere like home. So I will show you how we can fill in this slogan. Okay, I will use this one. Up, down, should be moved. Okay. So I do a little bit of introduction on myself. So I got around 20 years experience in this sector. I started my first job with Google 2006, spent around, I think, 15 years, do the solution, I think, across the globe. I only focus on digital bank and digital government. And my former job before I joined the government is ex-Microsoft. So when I joined the government, I with our minister, and he got a strong vision. He want to convert a paperless government. He want all the citizens in Cambodia be able to request all the public service digitally, receive it digitally, and the result can always use digitally. We try to see the implementation around the world. We see that most of the countries use 3 DPI to implement it: digital ID, data exchange, and digital payment. But those countries still use the paper. The notarization service is still there. Legalization service is still there. So it means that the value of the digital document is not there yet because the practice still works with the paper. So in order to solve this problem, we try to find the use case that happened in the country and apply on the first use case. In this case, I will bring one use case that happened in Cambodia. Like when a student in Cambodia, they graduated from high school, you know, they got one high school certificate, the original one. The day that they have this high school certificate in Cambodia, they cannot use it because they got only one single copy. They need to do a copy and legalize it. It takes time to do the legalization, and then they can use it. In Cambodia, every year there's 100,000 of students graduate from high school, and we lose around $6 million just to spend on the legalization of the high school certificate. In Cambodia, we got a lot of documents that need to do the legalization. We lose million and million $. So how to solve those problems? We bring a solution called Verify. This solution uses the blockchain technology, use AI, use hybrid cloud, and the QR code for the simplicity. So blockchain technology is used to ensure the authenticity. AI is used to prevent the fraud. Hybrid cloud is used for the fast deployment. So in Cambodia right now, this solution apply on 100% of the public university. So let me tell you why this solution is very popular now in Cambodia. Because during my generation, when I finished my engineer degree and I got a scholarship to continue master abroad, I got a lot of difficult time. I need to bring a lot of documents to do the notarization and legalization. Sometimes legalization doesn't work, sometimes notarization doesn't work, and it has a stamp from embassy, a stamp from the school, so I run around. But today, all the students in Cambodia, they are very lucky. A moment they graduate, their certificate can use to apply the job, can use to apply the scholarship, can use to enroll in US university, Korean university, Singapore university without the need of the notarization. They can use it straight away. This is what's happening right now. Last time in Cambodia, when our people go to Korea to work, they need a criminal record. Our people had to travel back to Cambodia, request for criminal record, hand the paper, fly back to Korea. Then they try to do some digitalization. They allow the citizen to request from Korea, but the criminal record need to be printed out, stamped, and sent back by DHL. But today, it's not the case. All the citizens in Cambodia can request the criminal record digitally, and the criminal record can send by email digitally, and our people can print and use it in Korea without having another stamp. And it's applied to all documents in Cambodia that we can use cross-border. So 24 out of 26 ministries already use the solution. We apply around 8 million of documents. It brings our public service to another level. It allows our public service to request digitally and receive digitally. We don't have to travel to get the result, because result can send by the email. We don't keep this solution in the country because we see the painful experience in our country. We are now deploying this solution to another country. A few months ago, we launched this solution in Timor-Leste. Timor-Leste put this solution on their driver license, and they are going to put on all the certificate in education, and Timor-Leste is considering stop printing the certificate for the education system. For the driver license in Timor-Leste, you know, last time they spent $4 to print one driver license card because they need the hologram for the physical security. Today, they spend only $0.1 to print the driver license because they no longer need the hologram on their driver license card. They only need a normal card. And now, the people in Timor-Leste can print their driver license on their own as well. So, What this solution brings is that our Camden government don't want our citizens to worry about keeping the document issued by the government in the locker and try to protect it anymore. Every time our people need to use it, need to do notarization or legalization. We don't want this problem happen anymore. What our government wants is that all documents issued by the government can be stored in their mobile phone and use it to apply for the public service whenever they want. And if they want to use it on the hard copy form, they can print it on their own. This is what we want right now. So this solution, we win a lot of awards because it helped the citizen life better. We win the Golden Asian Award, we win the ITU Award, and during the Global DPI Summit 2024, they recognize this solution as the fourth DPI of the world, and today we win the UN Award as well. So how Cambodia can help other countries? You see, we deploy this solution, I think, to at least 5 countries. And if any country would like to have this solution to make their citizen life better, we are here to support other countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your use case. And finally, we have turned to Latin America. Please welcome Alejandro. He will represent Uruguay and CLAD. Alexander, go ahead. We have 5 and 8 minutes for your presentation.
Yeah, I will be trying to be very short, not stealing too much of your time. I will speak from a Latin American perspective. This is tricky, yeah. First, just in a couple minutes, I'm part of CLAD. So what is CLAD? CLAD is a Latin American Center for Development Administration. We put together 23 countries from Iberoamerica, also Africa. And our mandate is working on public sector modernization. And of course, in the last decade, digital government has become one of the most central topics. And in the last 2, 3, or 4 years, with the explosion of AI, that topic is becoming even more important. So we work on soft law, let's say, setting standards, technical assistance, helping building capabilities to our countries in the region. And so a couple of examples of that, in 2023, we approved the Ibero-American Charter on Artificial Intelligence in Public Administration. It establishes some principles of human oversight, transparency, and right protection for AI in government. And a sister organization, the Ibero-American General Secretariat, CEHIB, also approved with the 22 head of state the Ibero-American Charter of Principles and Rights in Digital Environment. So these are 2 important charters in Latin America, and CEHIB and CLAD are now working on setting a group of standards in digital identification and interoperability. And I'm saying all of this because one of the things Latin America can offer to the global discussion is a governance first right-based model for digital public infrastructure. Of course, we are not the only region talking about that, but I think that could be one of the Latin American offers to the global discussion. There. So some key messages. Well, a big part of the challenge is about governance. Many of the previous speakers talk in different ways about this. Of course, technology is often a challenge, definitely, but countries in Latin America have made a good progress, a good improvements in the technical layer, but most of the challenge still stays in governance, right? So, as one public official told me once, convincing agency B that he can trust agency A, and both citizens can trust both is one of the governance challenges. So building that trust is a governance challenge, not a technical one, or not primarily a technical one anyway. So the implementation gap is a trust gap. In general, most Latin American countries are adopting interoperability framework, or there are some plans in place to tackle with these issues. Nearly every country in the region has one. So the region leads is pretty much a good point of start in normative adoption, but we are lagging in the implementation reach. For example, only 28 of Latin American procedures are available online, and only 15 of them can be, from the beginning to the end, be finished without some physical visit, some in-person signature, some re-entry of information the state already has. So there's a lot of work to do in that matter. This gap between available online and actually usable is explained not only by the architectural choice, but by the presence or absence of governance coordination. See, so this is a trust gap most of all, and this is important, especially I think for Latin American countries, but for developing countries, I would say, because for most of the countries, political instability, lack of trust in government is an issue. So working on these kind of topics are important, and it's part of the discussion we need to have. But some good examples. One of my own country, I'm from Uruguay. The digital ID in Uruguay in only 3 or 4 years grew from 6 million authentications to 17 millions and 190 integrated services with thousands of authentications every day. And recently, we are also working with our big neighborhood, Brazil, in cross-border implementation, so Brazilian citizens can make or can use public services using their own identity. In Brazil, this is expanding to other countries in the region as well, but this is the first pilot they are working out between Uruguay and Brazil. Another example, Clave Única, I guess it could be translated as unique password or something like that, from Chile. It's also a good example, makes agency participation mandatory. So it is a good example of governance in a way, but a visible commitment that the state is trustworthy, and it will keep information kept consistently across agencies over time. So two examples. Of course, there is more in the region, but Uruguay and Chile are probably one of the best cases, along with other countries. Well, citizen trust in Latin America, public confidence, as I was saying, in state institutions has often been fragile, as well as political instability in many countries. So I guess this discussion makes sense if we consider that well-governed systems are an opportunity in a way to rebuild institutional trust, right? Well, there's an evidence, for example, from the OECD that satisfaction with administrative services is strongly linked to trust in government. This is not a surprise, of course, for many countries. This is. And, well, of course, digital services are not a technical issue in public eyes. Early today, the lady from the Ivory Coast, I think she's over there in the public, when she was comparing how many people is in prison in Georgia, and Georgia the country, Georgia the state in the US, and so on, says people compare services. And I will add to that people not only compare public services, but they compare public services to Netflix or against Uber or against other private sectors in the market. So we need to deliver services in a much better way, and interoperability and digital ID is a big part of that. For example, for most cases, I cannot pay a public service with my credit card, but I can pay many other things in the market with my credit card. So every interaction that fails is a small erosion of institutional trust, and every interaction that works is a small deposit in public trust. So just to finish, I know we're running out of time. When governance is absent or fragmented, that's a problem, definitely. And well, the main challenge from our perspective, from CLAD perspective, is the one of governance. Okay. So we have to work on that, work on governance, interoperability, digital ID, working problems in fragmented states. And well, as I said, governance is not a constraint on interoperability. It what makes interoperability resilient. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Alejandro, for your sharing experience. And now we have time on interactive plenary session. I invite you all speakers and audience to join the dialogue. Feel free to ask our speakers and how they deep dive in his own architecture and transformation approach. So, the floor.
Thank you very much. Very insightful and very educational talk from every of you. I would like to ask to the person from Estonia. You mentioned that in this Smart ID, it was the initiative driven by banks, and you also mentioned in the 3 types of digital ID that you are supporting that you find a role for banks and also for telcos. Can you expand a little bit more? Which is the role of each of these type of actors, and what would be the government role in order to ensure interoperability and trust and all this if these kind of actors are involved? Thank you very much.
Yeah, the Estonian story is somewhat funny. Actually, at some point, telcos and banks, 2 banks, 2 telcos, formed a new company called Certification Center. Very original, isn't it? And the idea was, okay, we will need certificates for our clients anyway, so let's have a common body who is doing that. But at the same time, when forming this, the government came out with a tender for the certification for ID cards, and the company turned 100% and started bidding on this tender and won the tender. And ever since, no banks, no telcos are not asking any certificates, separate certificates from this company, just using ID card instead. So basically, it was sort of coincidence. The certification center or certification authority is a private company owned by banks and telcos, and evidently they feel like part of the initiative anyways. So this company became anyways the knowledge center on PKI and all of this digital signing and all of this. So Estonia is so small country, we cannot afford to build separate silos and not to cooperate. So we do things together. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any question? Yeah, please.
Sure. Okay. I feel bad because I asked the question last time, but increasingly we're moving into a world where people are asking AI agents to do stuff for them. This is the future where things are going. This is, of course, a major challenge to digital identity. Because how do we give identity to AI agents? Then how does permissions work? I'm just curious where your thinking is at as you start to stare down the future of AI agents being asked to do stuff.
Well, I think it's quite straightforward. I mean, if you create a company, you own a company, and then you have a registered company, all right? You can have a registered agents as the same manner. Agents shall be tied to the persons who are operating them, right? AI agents, yes.
So functionally, they are like your own company.
Yeah, easy. Straightforward.
Can I follow up? Sorry, I come from Argentina, and you know that our president recently posted an article in Financial Times saying that we are allowing enterprise to be owned only by AI agents. So what we do in that case? Thank you.
No comment.
Yeah, we have.
So, given some of advances we are seeing in digital IDs, both in Estonia, Cambodia, I'm wondering whether there is some thinking around integrating public and private services. I mean, if we go back to even the 1990s, Hong Kong, for example, had this ESD Live. A number of you may remember, some of you may not even have heard about that. And they moved where ESD Live is still active, where you can actually integrate both public and private services, on the platform. The idea is to make similar services available to citizens. And given the opportunity that we have now, where EID is actually used across, are you thinking, particularly for those of you in the frontier of EIDs, that we start looking at how we can integrate services both in the public and private, spaces? Or is that something that is just, completely off, the radar or agenda for you? An example that's very common then was for wedding services, where you have to, get, registration with government, but at the same time you want to book halls, and you could do that on the ESA Live platform, which is still available till today, even though some changes have been made regarding data, issues. But increasingly, I'm just wondering whether you are thinking about how to leverage, this new affordances, of DPI for seamless service delivery or citizen-centered services.
Okay, how much?
I will share a little bit the experience that we deploy digital ID in Cambodia. We understand that if you would like to deploy digital ID, it should cost you between 3 to 5 US$ minimum for one ID. So 10 million citizens, you need to prepare 50 million US$. So in Cambodia, we don't do digital ID from scratch. We ask the question, can you trust the bank ID or not? Because you operate a lot of money based on the bank ID. So in Cambodia, we create digital ID, government digital ID from the bank ID. So we allow the citizen to log on to get the public service by using the bank ID. We spent 1 month, we got a few million of the government digital ID created without spending the money. This is what's happening. Second, I'd like to show you one thing related to the slide, one of the first presenter. And we don't want to leave anyone behind. So in Cambodia, we produce something we call reverse identity. We allow the citizen that stay in the countryside, has no mobile phone, hold the card. And this card got the verified credential QR code. So when they go to the public service, they present this card to the public service provider. Public service provider scan the card, got the information, but not display. They need to do the authentication through likeness to the citizen, verify their face, again the QR code, and then the service provider provide the public service. By doing this, we don't leave anyone behind. This is our experience. Thank you very much.
So, I think, yeah, sure.
Thank you. Thank you for the great presentation. So I also have a short question, but I think it's very, it has very fundamental meaning in the process of digital transformation. As we look in different domains, and we can bring an example of, let's say, digital archives. Georgia is working on digital archives project, and we found out in this process that the document as such is a very integral part of the DNA of the administrative proceedings. So everything is traditionally built on document. But once we're talking about this digital identity, the electronic ways of identification and things like that, in these relationships, we don't have documents with its traditional meaning, right? So there is the log somewhere in the system which says that something happened. And this causes a huge problems if we only focus on the documents as an integral and a must part of administrative proceedings. So the things that we are very attentively and very closely watching, that the proceedings are transforming from documents to something else. So the number of documents in the everyday proceedings is decreasing and decreasing, and other means of identification or other means of and other ways people just declare their will also become part of these administrative proceedings, like pushing the button or just doing different things. So clicking that I have read the terms and conditions and I agree. So there is no physical document, and there is no digital document which is signed in an electronic way. So my question is, do you also see this as a trend, moving from documents only to less and less documents, and how you see the future of administrative proceedings in general without documents at all? And I wonder what each country is doing in that regard. Is that a strategic approach of your countries or not? Thank you so much.
Who wants to start?
Good question. In my opinion, I think that unfortunately, you are not starting from the scratch, right? So that means that you have a legacy that you have to take into consideration and drag with you, okay? So that doesn't mean that according to your vision and your future, that starting documents may disappear. But you need time, because you already have a legacy, right? In our particular case, as a country, we have deployed a boss of interoperability that allow us to exchange between administration and private sector any kind of documents, and but also data. Okay, so you don't need to share with whoever you want. You only say that you have that information, and in case it is required, then you can share it. Okay, so this boss is based in microservices, where you can request, not always retrieving all the document or the information, just answering if yes or not. Okay, so that really simplifies absolutely everything, make the system fastest. And in order, and just to finish, we considering that we have a legacy system, we have an electronic, let's say, legacy documents that in somehow we are trying to digitalize, okay, and bring it to the system, okay? But here you probably will find some legal terms that you have to take into consideration. For example, when you are talking about contracts, when you are talking about many different kinds of documents, because you have to preserve that document at least for 10 years, and also in terms of taxes or fiscality, okay? So, well, it's, again, unfortunately, we don't start from zero, okay? In that case, it would be much easier, according to your explanation. But, well, I guess it's a common issue that all the countries have. They have a previous stage, a previous life that it's based on paper. So, well, you have to do your best in order to manage all that legacy that you have, not only as a government, but also with private sector or whatever.
Just my 2 cents. If you think of archiving scenario, we're probably looking for a retention value of the archive data, right? And if you don't have this signed digitally, you can always like seal it digitally by your own terms in order to preserve integrity. And those terms can state in which conditions that seal was given, and then you get this evidential value out of it.
Yeah, just a short comment. Yes, for me, it's a trend, definitely. I don't know how fast, but it is definitely a trend. But the reflection I came up with your question is that, again, it is a matter of trust, which is one of the key words of this second session in the workshop, right? That the document was a safe place in a way. So now the state has to reinforce its trust that it has archives and the systems are trustworthy and so on. So in the traditional way, the document was there. The city has the idea that the document was there, and now you have to reinforce trust in digital systems. Anyway, thanks.
Well, any questions from the audience? Yeah, could you share? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think we have one last questions for speakers.
Hello, first of all, thank you very much. It was very interesting topic, very interesting discussions. I'm Mariam Tabatadze from Ministry of Defense of Georgia, and I'm dealing with different topics, and trust and interoperability and corruption and planning is my portfolio, part of my portfolio. So just to took my personal experience, I love this trust building and this topic of the session. So I love trust. So I have smart house, everything, lights. I'm doing online, even washing machine, even car. I have Tesla electric car, and I love trust. And I have everything in my mobile, all my cards, even my ID, and. This part I love, but at the same time, I'm not sure, am I secure or not? Because while I was studying in Estonia School of Diplomacy, and we visited first the most digitalized system office. I was so impressed, and it was 2010, and I was dreaming. And so this era kind of came in Georgia, and we have lots of the smart and digitalized everything. But at the same time, how about the trust? For example, me, then I have the smart key, and I was so happy, like saying, hey, Google, open my door of my house, and it was opening. And once, because of internet connection less stability, so my door wasn't open. I was shocked. I called this SilkNet Georgian company, and I just got only sorry. And during 2 days, because I wasn't having my key with me, I wasn't able to enter in my home. And another was, it's quite costly, all these digitalized bubbles, which I bring from US, and because of connection problems, some SilkNet, so it was, I wasn't able to do this. And you know, some Philip company from California enter in my house, digitalized, and I was just in Messenger having, okay, Mariam, switch off now, bedroom, no, switch on, no, wait a moment, and they fixed. I was very happy, but at the same time, how about trust? So I know that cybersecurity is vital in the world. We all agree that our security is very important for us, but at the same time, I was very surprised in Germany. So I couldn't get the parking card because they do not want it, and it was kind of advice. They need your ID in this card, and we do not trust Germans, so you have to get out from the car to open the parking, and so, yeah. This was my conclusion, and I would love to have discussion in this topic as well. Thank you very much for prolonged discussion.
And that's one of my favorite questions. Is this questions? Do we need comments from your message? Thank you. Thank you. So our time is coming out at the end, and to summarize today's discussions, that really trust cannot be automated. So. If must be earned transactions by transactions and protected by security IDs, robust data security and unwavering privacy safeguards. If we build our digital ecosystem with the same care we put into the human relationship, our citizens will not only take the leap of faith, they will really the system with the absolute confidence. And thank you very much for audience. Thank you very much for tremendous, very excited presentations, and thank you for sharing your experience. I will ask, yeah. Please, Arpin, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Just again to thank you very much for Rustem Bigari, who was a moderator for our session, an expert in AI, and he's done it all in Kazakhstan and went international as well. Thank you for excellent moderation. Thank you very much for the panelists for the interesting point of views that you brought into the discussion, and hopefully you will make use of their presence today and tomorrow in the margins of the forum, because the wealth of experience and knowledge generated in this room is amazing. So take use of that. And my last remark before we close the session today, for the international participants, the Georgian government, the Ministry of Justice, has put together a dinner. And I believe the buses are leaving at 6:30 from Sheraton Hotel. 6:30 to 6:40, I believe, from Sheraton Hotel, and they will be dropping you off here as well. So if you plan on joining, please prepare and then come back to the lobby area in the Sheraton Hotel by 6:30 p.m. Thank you very much.